How you guys doing? Reggie here, your friendly neighborhood bodybuilder and comic book collector, and I want to welcome you to another one of my videos. My hope is that you can actually hear me over my daughter who is crying. It's about midnight and I'm recording this video for you guys, and she's kind of stirring in the night, so bear with me. I want to share with you a little bit of an anecdote that happened today while I was on the hunt for the acquisition of a collection. And I'm not going to tell you guys how I go about identifying and buying collections right now, because I actually want to save that for another video. I want to gain some additional experience. I want to try out some different approaches so that I can present to you a comprehensive, philosophy and approach for how I'm doing things and what's working and what's not working. So I'm going to save that part for another time. But the wife and I were actually in Maui for the last weekend. Before I left to go to Maui, I sent off some messages to some people that had, stated that they had some collections. And so several days went by, of course, and I did not hear anything from any of them. But as we were landing today, a message popped in from someone and started going back and forth with the guy, having a pretty good conversation about what he had or what he didn't have, his availability, et cetera. And I tell the guy, hey, I'm interested in coming to take a look at this collection and possibly even buy the collection from you today. And he says, no problem, sure thing. And then there was silence. So I'm messaging the guy and I'm like, hey, let me know what's going on so that I can make arrangements. I'm dropping some family off at the airport, and I can swing by and check out your collection and maybe we can do a deal. Silence. And so, most of the day goes by. The guy sends me a message and says, hey, I apologize. I was busy all morning, but I'm free now. I'm like, cool. So tell me where you're located so I can see how far you are to see, when it makes the most sense for me to come. Because now it's gone from basically 5 a.m. when we started talking to roughly 3 p.m. And the guy goes silent again. And then he messages me and he says, hey, well, you can come by and take a look at the collection. I said, hey, I'd love to, but I need to know where you are so I can figure out where you are. The guy finally gives me a rough area where he is. And I don't have a problem with that, because I often give people a landmark nearby to where I am when they're coming to buy things from me. And when they're actually en route, I give them, and close by, I give them the exact location. So, that didn't strike me as odd at all when he kind of told me where he was. And I said to him, based upon the time and based upon where you are, it's going to take me a long time to get there. So I want to wait an hour, and I will then come and jump in the car, and I'll get there a lot sooner than if I were to jump in the car now and sit in traffic for an hour or so. And the guy starts kind of going back and forth with me saying, it's only this distance. And I'm like, I know that distance because I've been to that area before. The issue is the traffic. It's rush hour. It just, it's 5 o'clock by this point. So there's no way for me to jump in the car and make it there in a timely fashion. So I basically tell the dude, look, we can, either you can be available tonight or you can't. It's no big deal either way to me. So 2 minutes goes by and he basically says, I'm good for this time. And we basically set the time at 7 o'clock. And so I tell him, as soon as I'm in the car at 6, I'm going to message you. I'm going to give you an update as to where I am along the way. So me being the person that I am, I do exactly that. I jump in the car 3 minutes before 6, send the guy a message. Hey, I'm en route. I'll keep you posted. As I get closer and closer to the destination, I'm providing the guy with an update. I'm 20 minutes out. I'm 10 minutes out. I'm pulling into the location that you gave me. Silence. No responses, wasn't reading the messages, nothing. And so I park at the Walgreens where he told me to meet, and I'm sitting there and I'm waiting, and we kind of agreed to aim for the Walgreens, and then he would give me the exact location and I would navigate there. Again, not too strange because I do the same thing. So I sit in my car at this very sketchy Walgreens in a bad part of Oakland, California. If you guys are familiar with Oakland, it is often referred to as Cokeland. So I wait there for, 5 minutes goes by, 10 minutes goes by, about 15 minutes goes by. I finally get a message. The guy says, hey, my wife and I stepped out to grab something to eat. Give me like 5 minutes. I'm like, dude, I told you, I'm thinking to myself, I told you it was coming. You're stepping out to get something to eat, or coming back to get something to eat, whatever it is. So he tells me like kind of sort of where he wants me to meet him. He says, give him like 5 minutes and then he'll message me back. So, I've already like invested a lot of time in this thing, I'm kind of committed to kind of seeing it through to the end. And mind you, guy gave me a cell phone number. We're having a verbal conversation, nothing strange, no strange vibe coming from the guy. And then he says to me, drive up such and such street and you'll see me walking because I'm walking back to my house. And that's where it starts to get a little strange because he's not giving me an exact address. He's telling me to drive up a street and look for him on his phone as he is walking down the street. And so I'm like, okay, let's see how this goes. So I drive down the street. I'm one block up and he calls me. He says, hey, where are you? I says, I'm here at this intersection. I'm coming on up. He says, okay, you should see me in just a moment. And as he says it, I see him on the corner. A rather disheveled man wearing an oversized winter coat. And yes, I live in San Francisco, but it's not that cold for him to have on a winter coat. I mean, actually, I was dressed like this when I went to go meet the guy. So as I pull up my car, I see him and his wife or significant other, whatever it is. And as he kind of comes around to my door and he says, hey, we're going to run inside, grab the books, and I'll come right back out. And the only thing I could say was okay before he turned and went towards the house. So I get out of the car, and mind you, as I'm driving up there, I'm talking to Matt, aka Thanatos. He and I have a pretty good relationship, and we're kind of always talking back and forth. So I'm talking to him on Instagram via Messenger, and I actually video the 360, and I say to him, if I go missing, I want there to be footage of where my body might be located, because it just continued to get sketchier, right? The neighborhood wasn't the greatest neighborhood. I kind of stuck out, standing at this corner. It wasn't a good situation. So he of course responds with, be careful. I'm like, of course I'm going to be careful, but make sure you come find my body or tell the police where my body is. So the guy emerges from the side of the house and he's carrying a tote, like one of those plastic totes that you get from Home Depot or something like that. And he comes over to me and he kind of sets the box down. I see a significant other lugging a handful of books behind him. He sets it down. I said to him, do you mind if I go through the books? And he says, absolutely not. And I'm kind of flipping through the books, and I take the ones from her because I want to be polite to her and have her not stand there with these books. And I'm kind of flipping through them and I'm looking at them, and then I pop my trunk and I set a stack in as I'm going through, and he starts to tell me how expensive the books are in the collection. He says, there's a Magneto book in there that's worth $85. And I'm thinking to myself, one, I don't think I've ever seen a Magneto book worth $85, but I'm going to let you think that. So I'm flipping through the books and he's telling me he used to be a collector when he was a kid, et cetera, et cetera. And all the while I haven't really ever looked at the guy's face because I'm trying to look at the books. I'm trying to, be aware of my surroundings, knowing that I'm not in the best neighborhood. So I'm kind of flipping through the books and I see a couple of things in there that pique my interest. I see a lot of X-Men books. And you guys know I'm a huge X-Men fan. I see a huge stack of Magneto books. I don't know what those things are worth, but Magneto's a great character. I see some Saga, and Saga's kind of hot right now. I see East West. I see a couple of other kind of titles in there, a lot of Image stuff, and I'm not a big Image guy. I know that they have a lot of creative writers and artists, but I'm not a huge fan of the Image work. So I kind of say to the guy, so it was, $50. And he says, yeah, it was $50. My wife put the wrong price on the ad. And I said to him, well, the ad technically said 40. When I was talking to you, you said she put the wrong price on and the price was actually 50. And now you're saying 70. I said to him, I have $50 and that's all that I have. Do you want it? And he says, yeah, I'll go ahead and take the money. And that's, as I'm having this conversation, I look at him and I realize he has no teeth in the front of his mouth. There are literally, like, there's one tooth kind of in his mouth, and it started to really become a situation where I started to recognize kind of what was happening, and so I said to the guy, I said, so tell me again how you got these books. And he says, well, a guy owed me money and he couldn't pay, so he gave me these books in exchange because he said the books were worth some money and I could sell them. And I kind of was like, so, that's how you got the books. There was no other way that you got these books. And he says, no, this guy gave me the books because he owed me some money. I don't know why the guy owed him money. I didn't ask that question. But really what I was trying to do was to make sure that the guy, didn't steal the books. Because that's my father always just say to me, don't bring anything in this house that doesn't have a receipt. And I think that was a great lesson for me to learn as a young man. And so the guy assured me that the books were on the up and up. He said the guy had actually given him some baseball cards or something like that as well that he had already sold, and he just wanted to get rid of these books and make some money. And so I again, told him again that, all I was giving him was $50. And so he agreed to that. And as I handed him the money, he shook my hand, and then he kind of did like a little skip as he said to me, now I can go buy some cigarettes. And there was a pause between the go buy some, and sure enough, he and his woman continued walking on down the street. They never went to their house. I guess that was their house, but they went ahead down the street, and I jumped in my car and went the other way. So it was a very interesting situation. Certainly not a situation that I'm a big fan of putting myself in. But it is what it is. My hope is that the guy actually did buy some cigarettes and not some other things. But give you guys a chance to check out some of the books in here. Some of these books I saw as I was going through the collection. Some of them, as I was standing there in the corner, right? Because I was going through it very quickly. Some of them I didn't see until I got back here to the house. But it's roughly, I haven't counted, but it's got to be close to 200 and some odd books that the guy sold me. I have not gone through them all. I've just been kind of separating a couple of things out as I've been going through. I haven't even rebagged and boarded them, which is, something I'm a big fan of. But what I did notice is whoever owned this collection was liked variants. There's no doubt about that they like their variants, because there are a lot of variants in this collection. One of them is All New X-Men number 3, and it is a gorgeous variant here featuring the All New X-Men, including Domino down here. It's a really, really nice cover. I think this is very striking. I'm not quite sure who the artist is, but this was a 1 in 25 that this person paid $9 for when they bought that, and it's actually in great shape. Sticking with that theme of Cable, here is Cable and X-Force number 1. And I don't know what this one's worth, but I just thought it was a really cool variant cover. And it says, "Gee, thanks. New clothes are way better than toys." So I thought that was a cool little variant. There was another here, Age of Apocalypse number 1, featuring a couple of Magneto and Rogue in the background, Wolverine down in the foreground, and I think that's Sabretooth, right? So it's a pretty nice book, and again, it's in really, really great shape. There is this way. It was a sketch cover, X-Force number 1, another variant, and again, just a really nice cover. These sketch variants are just incredible. This thing looks great. It's in solid shape. I haven't taken out of the plastic. There is some damage, but a lot of it looks like it's like to the plastic itself and not to the book. So I'll crack it open at some point. The other big find, I guess, if you will, so far is East of West. They have a huge run of East and West, and I kind of pulled out 1 through 10. Unfortunately, this is only the second variant. I'm sorry, this is a second printing. Not the first printing, but the artist actually did this little, I guess is that a remark down there in the corner, and also signed it. But I thought that was a pretty nice find. I actually did spot this one when I was standing on that sketchy corner. I spotted that one, and that kind of helped me kind of think through. I actually thought it was a first print at the time, but here is number 2. And again, with all of these things, they are in great shape, like perfectly white, crisp. Number 4. I'm not going to show you guys all these things, but it goes on and on and on. I mean, there's number 5. I think there's probably another handful or so of these books that are actually in the crate that the guy gave me. So I don't know if there's a moral to this story. I don't know if there is a lesson to be learned. I'll allow you guys to kind of take from this story what you will. But I was able to get all of these books. I don't know if I told you the price yet, but roughly for $50 is what I paid for these things. Who knows what they're going to be worth, but I'm going to continue working my way through it. I have a feeling that a lot of this I'll probably try to find a better home for, but there was a huge, at least so far, a huge stack of X-Men related titles. There's I think I saw like a Domino, Astonishing X-Men. I think I saw a couple of Gambit books in there. So there's definitely some things that I'm interested in because I'm a huge X-Men fan. Unfortunately, there were no Spider-Man books. I'm not quite sure how anyone has a collection of Marvel and doesn't have a single Spider-Man book. Well, I should say at least that I found. So anyway, hopefully you guys enjoyed this anecdote as I'm out there hunting. As always, thank you guys for watching my videos. If you have yet to subscribe, I encourage you to do so. And if you are new to my channel and this is the first video you've watched, they are not all this sketchy, but I encourage you to watch some of the other videos. Thanks a lot.